Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's Shifts and Bucks news pack for Thursday, April 22nd. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network, as it's been a heavy couple weeks in the hockey world, as another legend has passed away. It's Guy Lafleur from the Montreal Canadiens, passed away today at the age of 70. Lafleur, of course, was a legend with the Montreal Canadiens. I can remember him watching him as a young hockey fan. Watching him against the Boston Bruins was one of the first games that I watched. The flowing hair, him streaking down the ice in the either in the blue red or rouge or in the white. Um, Part of some of the great Canadian teams. They won four straight Stanley Cups in the 70s. Uh, he 50 straight goals in six straight seasons. Just a dynamic player, a personality in Quebec. Hard to argue that he's one of the more popular players of all time. Uh, Wherever you put him in terms of your legacy of his play, is that's your decision. But it's hard to argue that he's not one of the most popular players to ever play this game. He was a personality like no other, larger than life. Uh, just especially in Quebec. Of course, he was the number one pick in the 1971 NHL draft. Um, he was eagerly anticipated as star. Not like since they had stars like Rocket Richard and Jean Beliveau did they have a legend or an exciting player come up and catch the Hab fan base. Um, he had three 20-goal seasons, but then from 75 to 80, 50 goals and 119 points. Um, he was it's either him or Bobby Orr that you would have to think of as probably the most exciting players to play, or of course played a different position. But before Wayne Gretzky, before Marcel Dion, you'd have to kind of think it's Gary or Guy Lafleur. Certainly up there. Uh, can't think of a many bigger legends other than Rocket Richard, other than Jean Beliveau, that was a legend within Montreal Canadiens lore. The Canadians play at home on Sunday against the Boston Bruins. You can know and certainly know that that will be a very special ceremony. Uh, but with Guy Lafleur, Mike Bossy, the last couple of weeks, it's been certainly a sad time. Certainly, they've been were part of my childhood growing up. Those great Islander teams, those great Montreal Canadian teams, and two of the best right wingers to play the game. Uh, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman said you didn't need to see Guy Lafleur's name and number in a sweater when the flower had the puck on his stick. As distinctively stylish as he was remarkably talented, Lafleur cut a dashing and unmistakable figure whenever he blazed down the ice of the Montreal Forum. His long blonde locks flowing in his wake as he prepared to rifle another puck past a helpless goaltender or set up a lineup for a goal. Of course, he was inducted in the Hall of Fame of 1998, one of the 100 greatest players in the league's centennial celebration in 2017. Uh, he spent countless hours on autographs, countless appearances, was a franchise ambassador, just a great legend, Guy Lafleur, and a sad day for the Montreal Canadiens family as well. So that's where we have to start today in hockey. And as mentioned, they will have the Canadiens' next game will be Sunday at home to the Boston Bruins, kind of fitting that rivalry, that forever rivalry, the Boston Bruins, Montreal Canadiens. He scored one of the biggest goals in Canadiens history uh, against the Boston Bruins, game seven of the semifinals uh, there. So he's that's going to be a special night there as well. So Guy Lafleur uh, passing away at the age of 70. There are four games today in the National Hockey League as we focus on that. The Ottawa Senators take on the Columbus Blue Jackets. We have the Seattle Kraken taking on the Minnesota Wild. The Wild, of course, coming off that 6-3 win yesterday. It's the Vancouver Canucks that has clinched at least a series against the St. Louis Blues. It's just a question of who is going to get home ice advantage. Both the Wild and the Blues are tied at 105 points. The Wild have 5 games left. The Blues have 4 games left. The Wild have won 3 in a row. The Kraken, by the way, have won 3 in a row for the first time in their history. So they're rolling right along, moving along and growing as a team. Got the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, the Flames clinched the Pacific Division last night with their 4-2 victory over the Dallas Stars. So it's now a battle between the Kings and the Oilers for second in the Pacific. The Oilers are 2 points up on the Kings. Colorado has clinched everything that they can. Will have home ice throughout the Western Conference there as well. And then the Washington Capitals, who are battling for a position. They are in the playoffs, but battling for a position in the playoffs or for seeding here are 2 points behind Pittsburgh for the Metropolitan Division, 2 points behind Boston for the worst wild card spot. They're heading to Arizona, who has lost 8 in a row. So we'll be seeing some battles there. As we know, the 8 teams in the playoffs in the East. We don't know the matchups as of yet. So those are the 4 games going on there. As far as any playoff clinching scenarios, that is today, the Oilers, if they beat the Colorado Avalanche, will clinch a playoff spot. That's the only official one that is there. As far as Tim Stützle, here, he will be a game time decision there for the Senators tonight. He was hip checked. He took a hip check on Tuesday against the Vancouver Canucks. He briefly left that game. He did not practice in Columbus on Thursday, but he did skate on his own Friday morning. Game time decision for Tim Stützle there. Andrew Kopp and Philip Cheadle did not practice their day-to-day. They're not expected to play when the Rangers play the Bruins tomorrow at there. Kopp sustained a lower body injury. Of course, remember Andrew Kopp was acquired by the Winnipeg Jets at the trade deadline, from the Winnipeg Jets at the trade deadline. He sustained a lower body injury during the Rangers 6-3 win against the New York Islanders. He scored a natural hat trick in the first period, then sustained the injury in the third period. Cheeto sustained an upper body injury Thursday. He played 13:01 and did not have a point. Jeff Carter will be back in the lineup with the Pittsburgh Penguins take on the Detroit Red Wings on Saturday. He was a full participant in practice after leaving in the third period. And Evgeny Malkin will return from his 4-game suspension for cross-checking Predators defenseman Mark Borowiecki back on April the 10th. And those are the 2 significant injuries there. So that's what's going on in the NHL. The WHL, we have the first playoff game last night, the Lethbridge Hurricanes and the Edmonton Oil Kings. The Oil Kings came away with the 4-1 win as the Oil Kings took a little bit to get going, but they scored in the second period, 9:08, and didn't really look back. They ended up with 48 shots on the Hurricanes and dominated throughout. As we go through the summary here, those 2 teams will be playing, by the way, on Saturday, but the shots were 10-9 in the first, but then the Oil Kings took over in the second, outshot them 22, the Hurricanes 22-6. They got goals from Carter Soch and Dylan Gunther in the second, and then Jalen Lupin and Luke Prokop into an empty net, made it 4-0, and then Tyson Laventure broke the shutout for Sebastian Cossa as the Oil Kings take the 1-0 series lead. Those 2 teams will be back in action Saturday for Game 2. But the rest of the WHL playoffs start tonight. We got Prince Albert taking on Winnipeg. We will have the the Saskatoon Blades taking on the Moose Jaw Warriors. Brandon Wheat Kings taking on the Red Deer Rebels. Spokane Chiefs taking on the Kamloops Blazers. Prince George Cougars taking on the Portland Winterhawks. Kamloops Blazers taking on the Seattle Thunderbirds. A lot of people very excited about that series. That should be a lot of fun. And the Vancouver Giants taking on the Everett Silvertips. So playoffs in full swing here today. I'll be doing Eastern Division recaps of all the games on WHL on Area 51. Third Line Podcast has done a preview as well. So it'll be, as the WHL playoffs, first playoff series since 2019 are getting in action there. And as far as the BCHL action, of course, there's 2 games tonight. The Langley Rivermen will be taking on the Alberni Valley, there, Bulldogs in that series, and as well as the West Kelowna and Salmon Arm will be in action as well. West Kelowna Warriors taking on the Salmon Arm Silverbacks, as those are the only 2 series remaining. The Penticton Bees have advanced, as well as the Nanaimo Clippers are awaiting the winners of these series. So Bulldogs, Rivermen leave the Bulldogs 3-1. Silverbacks and Warriors are up 3-1 in that series, and they will have a chance to clinch that series tonight. So we'll keep an eye on that. Now, the other news is, according to a report here started from Rod Peterson and has been confirmed, as Bill Peters is in the running for the Grand Prairie head coaching job. Of course, the former head coach of the Calgary Flames, a leading candidate. However, team president Murray Chase has said no decisions have been made. Chase says he hasn't been selected yet. The process of hiring the next head coach of the Grand Prairie Storm, we hope to have him placed by the end of next week, because our spring camp opens up on Friday. Of course, if you remember, Peters resigned as coach of Calgary Flames back in 2019. Of course, he faced an allegation he used racial slurs and struck players. One of the players was Akeem Alou. And Michael Jordan alleged that Peters kicked him and punched him and another unnamed player during a game. Peters took a job with Avto Mobilis Yektenberg back in April of 2020. So this has not been met with positive news with the JHL. A lot of commentators have met that, and I just got to say, if hockey is for everyone, Bill Peters shouldn't be coaching a junior team. It's just that simple for me. The way that I looked at that personally, we'll see what happens with that situation, but we'll keep an eye on that. Bill Peters back in the news again. So that is the news for today, April the 23rd. You can follow us all individually on Twitter, as Sean and Devin will be taking Dylan and Matt to the game tomorrow between the Calgary Flames and Vancouver Canucks. We'll talk about that game tomorrow. Canucks fighting for their playoffs lives. The Flames, of course, have clinched the Pacific, but that's that contest that we've been running this season with the Pig and Duke, final home game of the regular season. So we'll hear on Monday how that went there as well. But you can follow Sean individually, Beardy Canuck 03, Devin Gordhow 09, Tyler TNOBLE, Christian Schneids SCHNAIDZ. I am KEVULE. Shifts and Pucks on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. Again, rest in peace to the great Guy Lafleur, and we'll talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.